All right, guys, welcome back to Crossover Thursday, which is presented by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play just 5. All right, Tony. So I could think of about 16 reasons the Jaguars could win this one, but why don't you give me your top 3 that could lead them to victory?
They, believe it or not, what they've been through this year, they still play with a lot of pride. They still, they lost more close games by 1 score. I think they have 8 games that they lost by 1 score, and they lead the league in that. So they've always been fiercely competitive when they play. So I do believe the thing that they have going is they had a lot of young guys that are really, really trying to put good stuff on tape, whether they're going to be here or somewhere else. So they really have not given up or quit. They ain't sitting there thinking about no draft pick, man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how you tank anyway in a contact sport, because whether you tank or not, you're going to get punched in the mouth. So you might as well fight back. You know what I mean? And you'll get hurt by trying to actually tank and give the game away. These guys just don't do that, man. They actually go out and give it 100% each and every time, and they do have a certain amount of football character, and you got to chalk that up to them. And they're just not very good. That's just it. They're just not a very good team.
And sometimes it comes down to that. Like, teams have heart. They try hard. It's just a talent discrepancy. They don't have enough, whether it's depth or injuries. For the Colts, I mean, I got to keep it simple because, again, like I said, you never know what they're going to do. So right. I think in order to win this game against the Jaguars, they got to limit the turnovers, because last week against the Giants, the offense actually did largely show up. It was the defense that couldn't stop a dang thing. DeForest Buckner said they couldn't stop a nosebleed, but Flacco throws a pick on the first drive, and then in their final 2 drives, still within 1 score.
Yep.
Interception and a fumble. So they were in it. If the turnovers just kind of really made it worse than it needed to be. So limit the turnovers. Looking at you, Flacco, if it's going to be him out there. They've done a great job running the ball. Jonathan Taylor has been on a tear. He's got a few 100-yard games in the last month. They're running the ball really well right now. Right. And then defensively, simply wrap up and tackle. If there's ever been a week where it's probably been stressed and hammered into their head endlessly by the media, by the fans, by the coaches, it's this week. If they can't do it this week, they just can't do it. So I think if they do those 3 simple things, protect the football, keep up the good work in the run game, and then just simply wrap up and tackle. Like, there's been a few games where you look at their opponents' rushing yards after first contact or yards after catch, and it's 200-300 yards, like a whole game's worth of yards just based on after first contact.
Jeez.
So it's insane. Just take care of the simple things and don't beat yourself, I think. And the Colts, it's probably not going to be a comfortable win, but all their wins are pretty much 1-score games as well, like you were mentioning. That's all. You just need to win by 1 point.
That's it. You just got to win, man. There's no column for how good you win. It just says win, loss, and tie. They haven't done a whole bunch of that. Last thing is Shane Steichen. Is they on a bit of a hot seat?
It's looking that way. There's some murmurs lately that it might be more so of Chris Ballard being on the hot seat, but it depends how you look at it. You could look at Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen as kind of a package deal, and if you get rid of one, you get rid of both.
Right.
Shane, he's definitely got his faults. I'm not totally ready to pull the plug on him yet. Mm-hmm. But when you look at Ballard, I don't know what the redeeming qualities are or what you have to hang your hat on, and you're looking at Shane Steichen came out of his first year as the Colts head coach, gave them a +5 win from the year before. So they did really well, and that's with Gardner Minshew carrying the load pretty much the whole year.
A drop pass could have, gotten them into the playoffs.
Yeah, and then Chris Ballard that offseason, the only 2 outside free agents he brought in, Joe Flacco, who you hope to never see because it's your backup quarterback, and Raekwon Davis, their 3rd defensive tackle. That's the only free agent moves they made from the outside. Now, they re-signed a bunch of their own guys, but like I told you, all those guys were on some of the worst teams they've had.
They sound like the Jaguars a couple of years ago when the Jaguars went 9-8, and then they just kept the whole band together and they went 9-8 again.
Yeah.
And then in this past season, they tried to call themselves a draft and develop team, and then they go out and get extra people, and they have the worst season that you could have. So obviously, they're not a draft and develop team, man.
Right.
And,
I say that works if there's patience involved, but
right.
you're not supposed to regress to that level. And,
No,
kind of not really addressing things in free agency makes it so your draft picks have to hit. They have to contribute right away and be studs. And the Colts, they hit more so on like day 3 players than they do early round guys. And that's just what their roster's full of, basically.
I'm not going to give a score prediction, but I do. I don't think the Jaguars are going to win this game. I think the Colts are going to figure out a way to beat them. They're going to get swept by Jacksonville. If Jacksonville does win, they'll be 4-2 in the division. And when you look at that just by itself, you think, wow, 4-2 in the division, they might be a wild card team, right? Nah, man, they ain't won but 4 games already this year. So that's just how bad they've been. But I anticipate that the Colts are going to win this game at home.
I really don't want to pick the Colts, but it's the final game of the season, and I look at a couple of these guys who, like, you look at a Ryan Kelly, who's like the longest tenured guy. He's been here even before Chris Ballard, and I think he knows this is probably his final game in Indy. They drafted his replace. Yeah, he's a free agent, and they drafted Tanner Bortolini in the offseason, who has looked pretty good when he's in for Kelly. And it's just kind of the writings on the wall. Like Kelly, he's very prepared for this to be his last game. He knows it's possible, but he's been talking all about like what he's going to miss most is, playing next to Quentin Nelson and playing next to Mark Glowinski and those guys. And Ryan Kelly is a guy that's going to go out there and give every last drop of sweat he has on Sunday. And I think there's going to be
is he still good
when he's healthy. He's been, he had a stint on IR this year. He's been adequate. He's doing well in the run game. And, that's what their offense needs to be right now anyways. But there are some guys out there. Like I can't imagine Kenny Moore is going to have 2 stinker games in a row. That's been one guy you could hang your hat on for like the longest time. So DeForest Buckner, obviously, I mentioned Jonathan Taylor's been awesome. I do think the important players are going to have big enough performances to get them across. It might be a 1 or 2 point win, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say at home, because if it was at Everbank, I couldn't do it. But they're at Lucas Oil Stadium. I'd say they get it done by a very small margin of victory in this one.